Okay, Jeremy Miner, welcome to the Wednesday Live. So on Wednesdays, we typically go live with a client from a completely different industry who is crushing it, who is typically at least doubled, most of the time tripled to quadrupled their sales or income after going through our product line, especially like Advanced NEPQ 3.0 Pro or Advanced Inner Circle Training. So today we're going to bring out a gentleman who's going to share with you really the top, I would say 3 or 4 tweaks, that skill sets that he has acquired from NEPQ that quite literally has caused him to crush everybody else in his company, in a company that's kind of rebuilding now, really good company, but might not be the best company in the entire world, but he is like crazy hitting his quota, and like not just hitting his quota, but we're talking about like by a couple 100% over quota. And we'll let him tell a story, and he's going to show you what those tweaks are so you can make those tweaks to your industry so you can sell more. Now, if you are brand new, if you just started following me, I'm going live on StreamYard. So I'm on 4 different platforms right now. I love StreamYard. I'm going live in our Facebook group, Sales Revolution. There's over 85,000 of you in there, about 86,000 of you now. Going live here on our YouTube channel. We're just starting to really spend some time on our YouTube channel. I think we've never done anything with YouTube. We had just organically like 50,000 subscribers in a year or so. And in the last week, we've had 12,000 more. So we're going to put a lot more into YouTube here over the next 12 months, get up to about 1 million subscribers there. And we're going live here on our Facebook business page, about 160,000 of you on that thing, and my personal Facebook as well. Now, if you are brand new, my name is Jeremy Miner. I'm the founder of Seventh Level. We're a sales training organization, obviously, that trains salespeople exactly like you, watching me in this black Hugo Boss shirt. There you go. So we train salespeople like you, train sales professionals like you, sales executives like you, sales leaders, sales management, okay? Entrepreneurs, business owners, coaches, consultants, contractors, really anybody that has products or services or programs that they actually sell. Now, when I say we train you, we're training you with using, how can I say this in a nice way? We train you using training you techniques that work with human behavior rather than work against it. What does that actually mean? Now, that's called NEPQ. That stands for Neuro Emotional Persuasion Questioning. And besides just the right questions, we also have to teach you how to ask the questions and what to say and how to use your tone. Because as the gentleman that we're going to bring up here, one of the tweaks he's going to talk to you about is how we've trained him how to use his tone to trigger his prospects to let their guard down. Because if their guard's up from the very beginning, sales resistance there, prospects stay surface level, and as you know, give you vague, generalized surface level answers. And then what type of an objection do you typically get at the end? I want to think it over. I need to do more research. I need to keep looking around. So if you want to stop the madness, you might want to pay attention to what me and this gentleman are going to talk to you about that. And I'm actually going to let you ask him questions. What's on your mind that me and him will actually answer for you. All right. Now, if you're on the live right now, I want you to go to your comments. So go down to your phone, because I know you're on your phone, baby. Go down to your phone, and I'm going to have you post #live. So if you're on the live right now, I'm going to have you go post #live. And if you're on the replay, I'm going to have you go post #replay. So let me see what you got here. So if you're on the live right now, post #live. I better see a ton of #lives, and I better see some #replays. Now, I'm going to have each of you do this, because, this gentleman doesn't have to train you all these tweaks. He's doing it for free here. Doesn't have to show you what to do to sell more. But what I want you to do here is I want you to smash the like button, and I want you to smash the heart button. So smash the heart button, smash the like button. I better see tons of smashed hearts, and I better see tons of smashed likes. So smash the heart button, smash the like button, or I better see tons of those. Now, let's go ahead and jump into this. I know, unfortunately, none of you care about me. You only care about yourself and learning how to sell more, which I like. So we're going to bring this gentleman out here. Peter, how are you, Peter? How's it going over there?
I'm doing well, Jeremy. Nice to see you.
All right, big dog. I don't even know where you were. I know you're a client, obviously, because you're in our Advanced Inner Circle program. So I know you just graduated from that a couple weeks ago or something, right?
Yeah, last week or the week before. Yeah.
The 6-month program. Okay, where do you live? Where are you based out of?
I'm in a city called Kelowna in Western Canada.
Western Canada. All right. So why don't you tell everybody what you sell, kind of what industry you're in, and we'll get started here.
Yeah, I sell CRM technology to small and medium-sized businesses all across the western seaboard of Canada and the U.S.
Okay, so you sell CRMs. Okay, so any type of business, or are they more like SMB type of companies, smaller businesses,
Yeah,
or like
everything up
large?
to like few hundred employees typically, and usually focused on sales leaders and sales executives.
Okay, so more CRMs for their salespeople, tracking, all that kind of stuff. And you've been doing that for about 3 years, right?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay. Now, from what I understand, you've been in sales for about 13 years. What caused you to go into this industry? Let's start there, and then we're going to get into some questions here.
Yeah, SaaS was always a sort of a big goal for me. Like I'd been in a variety of different industries prior to this, working for a chamber of commerce. I was working in advertising. I was working in a bunch of different things. But technology sales was really where it was at for me because it was sort of complex. It was interesting, and that's what got me jumping in.
Now, from what I understand, and were you in like some different training programs of ours before you got into Advanced Inner Circle? Where did you start with us?
Yeah, I started in 2.0, and then I upgraded to 3.0, and then I upgraded to Inner Circle.
You graduated through those 3 programs. So you started, how long ago did you start in 2.0?
October last year.
Okay. Oh, wow. So you've only been at this less than a year. All right, good. Yeah. So you're like, oh, I got to learn. Now, in your mind, because from what I understand, you were already, pretty successful selling what you're doing. You were already making like low 6 figures, right? You were over the 6-figure hump. You're in the top probably 12% earning salespeople. Okay. What caused you in your mind to be like, you know what? I'm making, 110,000 a year, 115,000 a year, but man, there's just something I'm missing because, I can make more. Like what went on in your mind that caused you to feel like, hey, I need to acquire a much more advanced sales ability?
Well, I mean, other than watching you and watching your team for a while, and what really sort of triggered for me was understand that I really didn't know how to build that pain gap between, what is the true problem that this customer is having versus where do they actually want to be up at the top, and how do I actually do that?
Yeah. So you were like, okay, I can't, I'm making some sales here. I'm making low 6 figures, but man, I'm not good at really building a gap from where they are to where they want to be. I'm not helping them find problems that maybe they didn't realize they had. Because that once you learn that, you can like quite literally double your income overnight, like quite literally, and work less hours. We're talking you could triple, quadruple. And I know you're still learning. From what I understand, okay, so how did things start to change? You got into Advanced Inner Circle, and what started to change with you with your prospects? Let's start there. And then now, everybody else, I want you to start asking Peter questions. So in the comment section, I want you to post questions, maybe like, hey, Peter, what was the biggest thing that you've changed that helped you double your income? What was the biggest thing, that you're doing differently now that you didn't know how to do before? Any questions you guys have that are watching this live, because there's almost 80 of you on here and like the 3 different platforms, which is really light on a Wednesday. Usually we have twice as many people on. Is it because you're from Canada, Peter? That
maybe
like the Americans, they don't like the Canadians down up there. I don't know what's going on. I'm just joking. We got thousands of Canadians clients. Okay, but like you guys ask him your biggest sales question or something that's on your mind. Like, how do you do this? I'm not, how do you overcome this objection? Whatever. You guys post it in the comments. And what I'm going to do over the next 30 minutes is I'm going to take the best 6, 7 different questions you guys have. And Peter and I are going to actually answer them for you so you can sell more. Okay. We're going to make this very interactive. Okay. So what started to shift? You started to use NEPQ. You're in Advanced Inner Circle. What started to change for you?
So, I mean, the first thing is having a structure, like having a really solid understanding of how do I get this person to engage with curiosity in terms of what do I have to sell, and can I actually help this prospect achieve their goals with what I have?
Okay.
And then understanding really that tonality, that pacing, understanding.
So once you started to learn the tonality, the verbal pacing, the verbal cues, the verbal pausing, besides just the questions, because I've got your script right here, right? Mm-hmm. It's a masterpiece that we created with you in the Inner Circle program, industry specific. How did your prospects start to change towards you compared to before?
They relaxed. Okay. They didn't feel it wasn't just another guy give them a call, interrupting their day. Hi, another sales guy, click. It was, oh, this is a different approach. And sorry, who are you? And what do you want to talk to me about? And you're getting away from that 5 to 7 second hi goodbye phone call to, hey, tell me more about what you're doing and how you might be able to help me.
So what you're saying is you learned how to get them to let their guard down.
Exactly.
Now, because they're letting their guard down, what changed with them? Like what changed because they were more open? Like what changed? Like when they let their guard down, how did they react to you when you were asking questions?
Yeah, they were far more curious.
Okay.
They were far more interested in learning what problems they didn't necessarily know that they had.
Yeah.
And far more engaged in just figuring out ways that they could become more efficient with what they were doing within their own business.
All right, I'm messaging some of my team. Somebody missed something here. All right, good. So let's take a couple questions here. I heard what you said there. Somebody on the Facebook. Let's see. I can't see if that's from the Facebook group or the business page, but somebody said, "What's the main things you learn while working with Jeremy?" So what is? Oh, that's from Mohammed here. He must be in the Facebook group. So what's like the biggest thing you've learned from the Advanced Inner Circle training program?
Hey, Mohammed. So I would say a great script, number one, and then how to apply that script in real time.
And why is that important to have your sales structure industry specific with NEPQ tied into it?
Because if you don't get the start right, you're never going to get the end right. If you don't have a strong understanding of how to build a pain gap between where someone is and where they want to be, then you're never going to be able to pre-handle objections, and you're not going to be able to get someone to a place where they actually really feel that guttural need to make a move or a shift, versus that was nice and let me think about it and I'll talk to you in 6 months, and then they never return your call.
Okay, so the industry specific skip was a game changer for you. We hear that a lot for sure. Here's another question. Hey Peter, what is your number one tip for B2B sales when selling selling SaaS to educational institutions?
I don't sell a lot to educational institutions. I focus more on salespeople, but what I would suggest is sales is about understanding what the outcome is that person's after, regardless of what industry they're really in. So if you can help them paint a picture of where they are today and where they want to be tomorrow and how your product bridges the gap between those two, that's how you're really going to help them.
And that's for any industry. So I think that's a good question from, I think it's Ali Kaza here on YouTube, but that's a really good way to describe that. It's getting them to understand, Ali, what their real situation is. Most prospects, when you first start talking to them, even educational institutions, don't really understand what their real problems are. They don't understand what their real situation is. That is your job as a salesperson, not to tell them that, because that goes in one ear out the other. You're biased. You're the salesperson. Your questions allow them to tell themselves that. It allows them to see what the gap is, like Peter said, from where they are, current state, to where they want to be. We call that their objective state. What is the gap in between? The gap in between is only determined by your questioning ability and your tonality ability that allows them to feel comfortable enough to open up to you and tell you what the real problems are. You can have the greatest questions on planet Earth, but if you don't know how to ask them with the right tone, your prospects emotionally shut down because they feel like you're asking them sales questions, rather than if I'm asking questions more of a curious tone, like, so I'm not understanding when you said blank, how did you mean by that? And that's almost a confused tone right there. So as a confused tone, they're wanting to clarify something for me because they feel like I didn't quite understand what they meant. So they clarify it, right? Then I can probe off that. That's another way to build the gap. I think that's a really good answer, Peter. All right. I'm going to answer some other questions here as well, but I want to come back to what you were saying here for a second. All right. Now, what is a good, let's just start here. What is a good, so you do mainly inbound leads, or what do you do?
Primarily, leads will come to me. I get a sort of a summary of what they're looking for. And
okay. Do they book from like an SDR that calls them before? How do they get on your calendar?
Typically, I will call them to book them onto my calendar.
Oh, so you call them?
Yeah.
Like a cold call?
No, Think of it as like a really expensive phone book where they have 5 or 6 different vendors that they're looking at. I'll call them to see if we can book some time.
Okay, I got you. So you call them, book a time, they get on your calendar. And what's a good connection question, an NPQ connection question that we taught you to use that really gets them into, results-based thinking quickly rather than price or cost-based thinking? Let's talk about that.
So, I usually open my call with, hi, this is just Pete Marsh calling with Maximizer. I understand that you submitted some information about possibly looking for a CRM for your business to help you with blank. I usually have some kind of thing there.
Yeah.
Are you still looking, or did you find what you're looking for already?
Okay. And how do people react to that?
They will almost always say, I'm still looking.
Yeah.
And why does
you're giving them an out.
Exactly.
So when you give a prospect an out, some of you are like, oh no, he asked, are you still, have you found what you're looking for? Or are you still looking for a way to do that? A lot of you have been trained, like you can't give them an out. You can't give them a choice. You just got to like force your way in there. The problem is when you do that, people are not stupid. Their guard comes up because they feel like you're trying to sell them, right? So by giving them an out, it shows that you're unbiased, that you're more neutral. And 99.9% of the time, because you're neutral and because you're using your tone is more of a curious tone, there was like, no, we're still looking, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. That's a good connection question. What about like when they on your calendar though? Like, how do we get them results? Okay. So it looks like you'd booked on the calendar. Why don't you go through that with them? Because some of these guys do inbound leads too.
Yeah. So hi, Jeremy. It looks like you had some time booked on my calendar to possibly look at implementing a CRM for your business so that you could, improve your. I think it says improve your sales processes. Do I have that right?
Yeah. Okay. So it looks like you had booked on the calendar about possibly looking at like, different CRM options to like really what's the end result?
Improve your sales.
To start making more sales, right? Yeah. Or to better organize your salespeople, right? See, I'm getting them right into results-based thinking rather than price or cost-based thinking. Now, that would be industry specific to Peter. Obviously, if I'm selling solar or life insurance or cybersecurity, I would tweak that to the industry, but the structure is like 95% similar to what I just did there. All right, let's go to another question as we're going to move on here. Let's see here. Minor Crafty says, how do you generate interest after your personal introduction falls flat? You wouldn't really, well, first of all, you'd probably need to get a better personal introduction if it's fallen flat. I would suggest that. Peter, you wouldn't really use a personalized introduction with what you do, correct?
Not typically. I'm actually trying to train myself to do a little bit more of that, just because I can always improve more skills.
And Minor Crafty, I'm not sure what you mean by personalized introduction. We might have a different interpretation of what you mean there. I'd ask you if you're on here, but obviously I can't ask you because we're just typing in here. All right. Here's a good question by Gloss on YouTube. Peter, YouTube's got some good questions on here, boys and girls. Peter, how did you manage to navigate through a complex sales environment and incorporate NEPQ to be successful?
That's a great question, and something that took me a long time to really kind of figure out and navigate, because it's not just a linear one call close environment. Mm-hmm. So, one of the things that I do is I kind of recap. It depends on each call, because each call can be a little bit different. So my first call, I try to go through the whole process. I want to get a real good understanding from the company. What do they care about? What are their challenges? What are the problems? What does the outcome look like for them? And I'll try and usually get up to a point where it makes sense to go to a demo. Yeah. Now, let's say someone's coming online with a whole bunch of stakeholders that I've never met before. Mm-hmm. I just rewind the tape a little bit and ask them, hey, what do you guys care about? This is what I understand you care about, but is there anything that I'm missing from this?
Now, I'd met with Linda last time, and Joe, I understand that you're head of what? What would be an example?
Head of marketing.
I understand that you're a head of a marketing, but XYZ issue, like how does that actually affect you with what you do? Just so I have more context, right? Mm-hmm. So Gloss, if you're asking like, does NEPQ work for B2B? Well, I'm going to go out on a limb and say yes, because 2 of the 4 industries I sold in were B2B. So it would probably, just going to go out on a limb, work in B2B. I made almost $3 million a year in commissions as a B2B rep in 2 different industries, and did that in B2C in 2 other industries, business to consumer. So human behavior typically works with humans. So when you sell B2B, those are humans. When you sell B2C, are humans. Now, you have a really good point here. When you're in a B2B complex sound environment, you have to know how to navigate in an organization to get other decision makers and influencers on the same page. Because Peter, as you know, if you're just talking with one C-level executive and maybe a department head, the average size company has 6.7 decision makers and or influencers. That's the average size company. We're not even talking about like a Fortune 1000 or Fortune 500 or 100 company, way more than that. So you don't want to just talk to a few people and then hope and pray that they can sell your product or service for you with 6 or 7 other people that it's going to impact. And the biggest thing that we see salespeople in B2B really make a mistake with is they think that the C-level executive, the department head, or whatever, are the decision makers. Now, the department head might be the real decision maker. However, there's a lot of other people that can influence that decision. Because maybe, let's say you're selling a CRM, who would that impact? Like a CRM, who do you typically talk to on the first call compared to the second call to maybe a third call, Peter?
Absolutely. So, let's take a mid-sized company. You might talk to a sales coordinator or a sales rep directly, someone who's doing research, trying to understand, what's out there, what's going on, what's going to be the best fit for my company.
Yeah.
And you always want to try and go after the person that's going to make the decision, or at least a proxy to someone that's going to be making the decision. You're not always going to get the CEO on the call. But it's so important to make sure that you're building consensus with the various different people that's going to touch. So
let's say you had that first call with the sales coordinator. Yeah. How would you get other decision makers involved to book the next call?
Absolutely. So at a certain point in the call, usually towards the end of it, you're going to ask a qualifying question like, we really enjoyed our conversation today, Jeremy. And just so I know, is there anybody else that should really be involved in the demo that might have a different view about what they need with respect to the CRM going forward?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, and another way to relanguage that is like, okay, just so I understand, like, possibly changing from X CRM to maybe even look at using our CRM, who would that impact the most in your department? Who would that actually impact besides you, or who would be involved in even looking at that in your department? So there's different angles you can use to be like, oh, well, that's going to really, Susie over here at, you give me an example, Peter. What would they say to that?
Oh, well, my boss definitely needs to be on the call, and I think that it'd be really good to have our director of marketing on the call as well.
And what are your boss's thoughts about XYZ issue that you brought up to me? See, I'd want to ask that. What are their thoughts? And what about the marketing director? How would this affect or how is this XYZ issue affecting them? Okay. Should we have them on this demo to walk through ABC? Would that help you more if I did that? Something like that. So you got to be able to navigate and get those other people involved. When I was in B2B, and we train thousands in B2B, just like Peter here, we train large companies that have hundreds of salespeople in B2B. The biggest thing we have to train them is how to navigate through organizations to get all decision makers and or influencers. Because Peter, the marketing director might be a big influencer about what you do, but they might not have any decision making ability. However, they can go complain to the CEO. We don't need this CRM because of this issue. We can fix it internally. And now they persuade the CEO not to go with your solution, even though the marketing director had no decision-making ability at all, but they can influence the decision makers. Does that make sense, Klaus? Hopefully that answered your question. Okay, so Peter, let's talk about, let's kind of fly through this. What's a good situation question that we've trained you to use to really help the prospect? Because there's about 5 or 6 that we asked for your space, but maybe about 4 or 5 for your space. But what's a good one to really help them understand what their real situation is?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing you want to know is, what are they doing now? How are they doing it, and how long have they been doing it for? Uh-huh. So, okay, so so help me understand. So, what are you guys using now to sort of manage your sales team currently? Mm-hmm. Okay, and how long have you been doing it that way for? Is there a reason why you chose X, Y, and Z CRM to do that? So those would be about 3 different questions that I use typically just to help me sort of paint the picture of the landscape of where they are today.
And why is that so important with what you're selling?
Well, we first have to establish a baseline for the company themselves so that they can start to understand, like this is what we have today. Like, help me understand this so that I can understand what those problems actually are, doing it that way.
Yeah, it's really important. All right, I actually pulled up your sales structure right here that we made industry specific with you in our Advanced Inner Circle program. That's what we do. So once you've found out what's going on there, let's talk about this first problem awareness question and why we ask it. Why do we ask this right here with what they just told you?
That's a great question. So asking if you're 100% satisfied versus are you satisfied with how you're doing things currently?
Yeah.
Ensures that they always, they're never 100% satisfied with anything. So asking that almost forces them to say, no, I'm not satisfied. And
does that make sense to everybody? Why you would say, instead of saying, are you satisfied with X, Y, Z? A lot of people are like, yeah, I'm satisfied. But Peter, when we taught you how to put the 100% in there, what shift did you see when you asked that?
Almost 100% response is, well, I'm not 100% satisfied, like 95% satisfied.
Yeah. Now, why is that psychologically? Why would we want to use it? So are you 100% satisfied with using spreadsheets? So, I mean, I guess with the spreadsheets you guys have been using, are you, I don't know, like 100% satisfied with the results you've been getting? Now, what type of tone am I using there?
You're using I'm losing my tongue, Jeremy.
I'm using kind of a skeptical, I'm skeptical, concerned, right? Now, why would you want to use like kind of a skeptical yet concerned tone with that type of question?
Because they're going to think to themselves, am I 100% satisfied? They're going to be skeptical in their own mind.
It forces them to internalize what I just asked them. But the important part there is saying 100%. If you guys say, are you satisfied with the results you're getting? Most prospects will be like, yeah, I'm pretty satisfied, unless they're a lay down sale. But if I just shift it there with now, hear my tone, because if I say it like this, oh, okay, I see that's helpful. So I guess with your current CRM, are you satisfied with the results you're getting? Yeah, I'm satisfied. See the difference there? So I guess with the current CRM you've been using, are you 100% satisfied with the results you've been getting? And they're like, well, I'm not 100% satisfied. Not 100% satisfied? Yeah. See how I can just probe there? Okay. All right. Another question here. Alex Holmes, is it NEPQ or natural selling? Well, NEPQ is NEPQ. That's neuro-emotional persuasion questions, Alex. Natural selling would be another methodology. I believe that guy, I've taken that course before. I've taken like 300 some courses plus 1,400 sales books, persuasion, plus college degree, behavioral science, human psychology. But natural selling, because I've read that book before. That's more for network marketers, from what I understand. That's what I know about it. All right, let's answer another question here. Hey, Peter, another question. What is your strategy with NEPQ during the demo process? That's a really good question that he asked there.
That's a great question. So for my philosophy, there's a couple of different things, and it's going to probably change depending on what you're selling and to who, and if it changes a lot based on your customer. For me, I focus on what are the pain points that customer has, and I try to use those problem awareness questions to really funnel into one or two things, like I want to make more money, I want to save time, I want to X, Y, or Z. And then for my demo, you gotta showcase a little bit about why your product's the best in the market, but really focus on how you're going to solve making more money, saving more time, doing X, Y, or Z. So if it's just a harbor tour of your product, it's just a features and benefits pump and dump, then you're gonna get turned off real quick.
100%. All right, so let's talk about let's just go down here a little bit here. They're like, oh no, I want to see the script. Well, we can't show you all the script because he's paid for this to be written. That's why he's making tons of money here. Okay, let's talk about this right here. So the first part of solution awareness questions is we're helping the prospect. Now that we've helped them find all these different problems in our problem awareness questions, we're now helping them get to see what their solution, what their future looks like once the newfound problems are solved, right? So with your solution, what does their future look like once they have your CRM? Let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah, ideally, you're going to solve three things. One, your sales team is going to be far more efficient. They're selling more deals every week, every month. the boss man has better visibility onto how the actual team is doing so they can course correct if they need to on a strategy level.
Yeah.
And, they're just being more efficient time. Like the cost of sales goes down because your salespeople are more efficient.
Yeah, 100%. All right. So we want to find out in the first half of solution awareness. So there's two parts of solution awareness questions. Where the first half, we're finding out what have they done in the past about changing these newfound problems, which triggers them to really think through it and be like, maybe we haven't done that much. We need to do something now. And then the second half is we get them to focus on what the future looks like once the problems are solved. So let's talk about this one first question. There's many questions below this that we have to ask in this stage. But why would we say now, before we started talking today, were you guys out there looking for for a CRM to get your salespeople more organized so you stop losing some of those winnable opportunities, or what have you been doing? Now, why would we ask that question there in your mind?
So there's a couple of reasons, and they're fairly nuanced in my opinion. So one is, how serious is this person about actually changing their universe?
Yeah.
So if I say to you, Jeremy, I've been looking around at CRMs for the last 2 years, that's going to tell you, how serious am I about actually buying a CRM? But I also might find some more information about capabilities that you're looking for, or capabilities that weren't available in another solution that they already looked at.
Now, because they might say like, oh, yes, we have been looking. Oh, what were you looking at? Oh, I looked at Salesforce, or I looked at HubSpot, or I looked at Infusionsoft, or just, 100 different companies, right? And did you actually go with one of those? Now, if they say yes, right? Now, we probably already know who they already have, right? In the beginning, because we're finding out in your situation questions, you're finding out what they're doing now to do that. And they would bring up that they have a CRM, and you'd be like, oh, who do you have? So you'd kind of already know that there. So more than likely, that's not going to come up here, right? But typically, oh, yeah, we looked at this company, we looked at that company. So, I mean, let's just say if it's HubSpot, I'm just going to throw it out there. And if we have HubSpot people in here, don't get offended. I'm just using a name here. So, I mean, HubSpot, they're a fairly decent company. What was it that they showed you that you felt was missing? Now, why would I say fairly decent? Why wouldn't I say, oh, HubSpot, they're a great company? Or what would most salespeople, oh, HubSpot, yeah, they're horrible. Why would we say fairly decent? What does that do?
So in the process, you want to remain quite neutral. So you never want to throw a competitor under the bus, because you lose credibility as a salespeople when you do that. But you also don't want to sing the praises of your competitor either, because then you go, well, why don't I just go over there?
Yeah, you don't say, oh, they're a great company, because then they're like, yeah, I should go over there. But if you say, yeah, they're a fairly decent company, what was it they showed you that you felt was missing? Now, the reason why I say fairly decent. Now, let me show you the wrong tone. Oh, yeah, HubSpot, they're a fairly decent company. What was it that they showed you felt was missing? It's just too regular tone. How does my tone come across when I say this? HubSpot, they're a fairly decent company. I guess, what was it about what they showed you that you felt was missing? Now, what does my tone come across as? When I say fairly decent company, see, when I say, they're a fairly decent company, that's kind of like I'm doubting that, right? Does that make sense?
Skeptical on the first part.
Yeah, I'm kind of skeptical there. Like, now, see, what I'm doing there by saying, yeah, they're a fairly decent company. See, my tone communicates that the company is not really that good, but I'm not saying that. Okay, so I'm not going to get them to dig in their heels that I'm just a salesperson talking bad about the competition. When I say they're a fairly decent company, I'm kind of in the middle, like I'm more neutral, but I'm still seeding doubt in the prospect's mind that firm's not that great. Now, then I say, what was it about what they showed you that you felt was missing? Now, why would we want to find that out? That's really important.
That's a big one. So if what they're looking for is something that you don't have either, you really don't want to waste your time.
Yeah. Well, and it helps you position your demo in the presentation, because now you know what they didn't like about the other company. And so if you have something that's identical, you want to know how to re-language that when you show the demo. Or do you want to be able to help them resolve that concern when you go through the demo? But now you're prepared when you go through the demo, and you know exactly what they want. You know exactly what they don't like. So you know how to prepare everything. So your presentation, your demo emotionally connects the dots 100% of the time. All right.
Yep.
That's a really good one. Now, somebody asked a question up here, which I thought was good. What was it here? I saw it up here a little bit. I'm trying to get to some of your guys' questions here. How much, Isaac has a good question from Facebook. How much time and effort did you put into fixing your pitch and techniques as you implemented the NEPQ methodology?
About a year.
Yeah.
So I started in October and I'm still going. I think it's, for me personally, my philosophy is lifelong learning. I'm not going to stop tomorrow just because I graduated the Inner Circle program.
Yeah.
I've got my script in front of me. I've got all kinds of charts from other teachers from the course that always are seating me. And I do a lot of role play.
Because it's selling something you did, or my good friend Brad Lee always says this, is training something you did, or is training something you do if you want to be a top 1% earning salesperson. Training is something you do. Does Steph Curry, does he just train 10 years ago and he doesn't still work on his technique every single day?
Yeah.
That's why he gets paid millions of dollars. Athletes who don't train every day are unemployed, right? They don't make it that far. Salespeople who don't train every day, they're the options when the company goes to lay off salespeople. They're the options because they don't train every day. They don't get in back. They don't improve. You never stay the same. I hate to tell this to everybody. You will never stay the same. You will, because your prospects don't stay the same. Your prospects do not stay the same. Okay. So if you do not train to obtain a much higher sales ability than you have now, you will never make more money unless you can double your work hours. But you're already working 8 to 10 hours a day. You're going to work 18 to 20? Probably not realistic, right? So training every day is what it takes. So Isaac, to answer your question, Peter is still learning, and he's more than doubled his income, making multiple 6 figures now, whereas he was making low 6 figures. That's a big game changer, I'm assuming, right? Okay, there's another question here from Scottsdale, Arizona. What was the difference you saw from your trainings in 2.0 to 3.0, and how did you translate to your sales results? What was the difference?
2.0 is really just understanding the structure, understanding the various, I think it's 7 different segments of the NEPQ structure.
Yeah.
Why it's there, what's the purpose of each bucket. 3.0, you start getting into some group sales role plays. You're having a little bit more access to the teachers. And then Inner Circle is just 2.0,
that's where
3.0, Inner Circle.
Inner Circle, you have to graduate at least NEPQ 3.0 before you can even buy Inner Circle, because it is far more advanced, because I'm the one training you. I'm training you in smaller groups. We only allow, I think, up to 40 or 50 people into Inner Circle per month, and it's a 6-month training program. A lot of our clients go for 12 months, and there's a 12-month option as well. So Inner Circle is me, and I make it industry specific for you. We train every industry on the planet at this point. So if somebody asks me, do you train this? Well, when I say we train every industry, that's what I mean. We're a fairly large company at this point. We're not like a one-man show here. Okay. It's a corporation. So we have 150 some employees now, growing every day. So the training, so 2.0 is the virtual portal. 3.0 is the virtual portal plus another 30 some hours. So it's like a 44-hour portal. Plus it's 6 different training calls per week with our sales trainers. I do one of those. Inner Circle is far more advanced because I'm teaching advanced looping, advanced pre-framing, advanced framing, and I'm making it industry specific to your industry. You will get some industry specific stuff in 3.0 though. We do have that for sure. Okay. All right. Let's go to one last thing here. I wanted to ask you, let's talk about your consequence questions. Why do we want to ask this type of consequence? Why do we want to ask a consequence question in the first place? What does this do to you, for you and the prospect?
Throwing away the dream of the island of outcomes. You are saying you've taken them on this journey where you go down to the depths of their pain, and then you bring them right back up to the height of what they want to achieve, and then you take it away.
Yeah, we want to rip it away from. So when they get to see what their future looks like once these newfound problems are solved, they're on this high emotional state, and then we start. Okay, but on the flip side, what happens if you guys don't do anything about this? Your reps keep using these spreadsheets, and like you'd mentioned, you're losing 12 plus deals a month, and that keeps going on. Like, what would happen to your job at that point? So notice how I started with a skeptical tone to keep that emotion high, and then I lowered it down into a concern tone. Why would I lower down the end into a concern tone, Peter?
Oh, because you want them feeling that. You want them feeling. You want them to really be thinking through. What does my life look like in 6 months if I'm still on spreadsheets? Am I afraid for my job? Am I going to have a bad performance review? Am I going to get fired?
100%. All right. Facebook. Somebody asked on Facebook, does this work for HVAC sales? Jeremy Miner. HVAC. Okay. When I say we train every industry, that typically means we would train every industry, including HVAC. HVAC is, we train 158 different industries. According to Forbes magazine, guess how many industries there are on the planet? I thought there were a lot more. There's actually only 158, and there's subsets of those industries. HVAC is one of the top 25 industries we train. So hopefully that answers your question. Facebook user, I can't see your name. It just says Facebook user. All right. Peter, I don't have time to go through presentation or stuff like that. Any last words of advice you'd give to maybe a new person getting into sales, or maybe even a vet? Like, any last words of advice you'd give them real quick?
You know what? Honestly,
do we train wealth managers? Yes. You're getting it, Mike. We train financial advisors. That's probably one of the 10 biggest industries we train. I love you, Mike. All right, keep going.
I wish this was available 20 years ago. I would have done it 20 years ago and made a lot more money.
Yeah.
But if you're going to do it, you got to do it. You can't just get in and expect the world to come to you. You got to be in there training every single day, multiple hours a day if you're going to be successful.
Look, if you want to be great at anything, what is the thing you have to do? Well, you have to learn a much higher sales ability than you have now, right? Now, I want to ask all of you guys this question, okay? I want to ask you this question. Who on here wants to make, I don't know, let's say at least $10,000 a month in commissions? Type in me if you want to make $10,000 every single month with what you sell. I want you to type in the comments, me, whatever platform. If you're on YouTube, Facebook groups, the Facebook business page, my Facebook, type in me if you want to make at least $10,000 a month in commissions. Now, some of you are like, I want to make 10,000. Now, type in me if you're like, the hell with 10,000. I want to acquire the sales ability to make 15 to 20,000 every single month in commissions. I want you to type in me if you are that person that wants to learn that sales ability, because that's just a higher level, right? Now, also, I want you to type in me if you're like, the hell with 20 grand a month. I want to acquire the sales ability to make 30, 35, maybe even 40,000 a month. Can I stretch it to $40,000 a month? Type in me if you are that person that wants to acquire that sales ability, because that's where Peter's at. He's getting there right there. He's more than doubled his income since he started here, and he's still learning. You're still in the training, right? Now, some of you are like, I want to make $50,000, $60,000 plus a month in commissions in your industry. Now, can I ask you something without you getting upset with me? How are you going to make that money if you keep selling the same way you are now? Or is this just a dream for you? How are you going to make that much money if you keep saying the same things you are now, if you ask the same questions you are now, and you use the same tonality you use now? How? You can't, right? So like Peter understands, and tens of thousands of our clients, if you actually want to make that money rather than talk about it, you have to do what, Peter?
Invest in yourself and learn.
You have to acquire a much higher level of sales ability than you currently understand, right? Peter, could you have doubled your commissions in 6 months without any PQ?
No.
Now, if you actually want to make the money you put in this chat, message me directly right now. So if you're in the Facebook group, message me directly right now. If you're in the Facebook business page, message me directly right now. If you're on my personal Facebook here that I'm on, message me directly right now. If you're on YouTube, you can't message me there. You'll have to join our Facebook group here to be able to message me, because you can't get, there's no DMs in YouTube. So you'll have to join the Facebook group here if you want to message me, salesrevolution.pro. It's right here in purple underneath me and Peter. Now, when we message you back, because there's 113 of you on here from the 4 different platforms, which is very small for a Wednesday. You have twice as many people. It must be a Canadian thing, Peter. I don't know what's going on.
Smaller population.
Everybody's working today, I guess. When we message you, because I won't be able to message all of you. I'll message some of you when I have time here in a little bit. But somebody on our team will message you, okay? And they're going to ask you a few questions. Can you do yourself a favor and let your ego down? That you might not know everything there is to know about selling or sales. What's the biggest thing that holds salespeople back? Their ego of them thinking they know everything, right? So you can keep that ego and stay at the same income. I'm okay with that because it really has no impact on me. We already have those skills, right? Has no impact on our clients like Peter. They already have those skills. They're acquiring those skills. Who does it impact? Not having those skills. It impacts you, right? So when they ask questions, just be open with them. Tell them what you feel. You feel you're saying or maybe not asking that's causing a lot of your prospects that have problems that you could solve to not buy from you. And once they find out those details, you'll have an opportunity, if you want to acquire those skills, to book in with one of our account managers. And our account managers will ask you more questions, more details about your industry. We already trained thousands in your industry. Guys, we already trained over 600,000 salespeople in the last 3 years as clients. We're a pretty big company. I don't know if you guys know, okay? There's a reason why Selling Power Magazine, or no, what's it called? Selling Power Magazine, largest sales training publication in the world, ranked 7 Level as one of the top 10 sales training companies in the entire world. You can't pay to be in there. You have to turn in your financials. It's based on your financials and your client results. They actually call companies and ask them, what type of uplift did they get you? They call individual salespeople and ask them, what type of uplift did they give you? You can't pay to be on there. There's a reason why we're ranked that quickly. No other company on there. Every company on that list that made the top 10 in the world has been in business at least 25 years. Most of them have been in business 30 to 50 years. We've been in business for 4. There's a reason why that is, okay? So if you want to acquire those skills, the account manager is going to ask you some detailed questions about what you sell and what you feel is the biggest objection that's holding you back, or what you're saying, maybe not asking, that's causing your prospects to run the other way. Once we understand what your current sales ability is, because like your income really tells us what your ability is compared to the income you want to make, then the account manager knows which training program of ours we would put you in. We have like 34 different sales training programs. We don't have one. We have different versions of 2.0, 3.0 Advanced Inner Circle. Once we understand that your sales ability, because we're not going to put somebody that's making $3,000 a month into our Advanced Inner Circle. We wouldn't let you in there. It's too advanced for you. You have to take baby steps. Okay. But if you're already making, $8,000 a month like Peter was, we can put you in Advanced Inner Circle because you're already getting there. We have to more than double that. Okay. So once we understand your current sales ability, we will recommend the sales training program that gets you the quickest result. Peter, how soon was it when you started getting results?
After 2.0, like even 2.0, I started implementing that. It was like I started having different conversations within a month, a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Real sales results was when I joined 3.0. I started doing that role play, and then
the role playing where it's at, because you learn what you're doing well and then what you have to tweak, right? That's where it's at.
And if I might add one other thing, Jeremy, if you'll indulge me, when I came into the program and I had a fair amount of a success as a sales guy, I thought I knew a lot. I read a lot of books, all the gurus of selling. I think I've heard you say a couple of times, and I had an ego about it. I really did. I was like, I know sales. I know sales. Just tell me the price. Tell me the price, Johnny. And what I didn't understand was the minutia, the tactical at the ground level.
Yeah.
That's what changed everything for me.
Well, even little things that I showed you, like, they're a fairly decent company.
Exactly.
Little things like that, none of you probably have ever even heard about.
Can't
Those
do that.
little nuances make the difference in you making, going from where you are to 15 grand a month, 20 grand a month, 30 grand a month, 50 grand a month, and higher in your industry. I can assure everyone on here watching me, and Peter, we already train people in your industry watching me that are making 5 to 10 times more than you. And it's not because they have cooler hair or their eyes are brown and yours are blue, so people buy more from people that have brown eyes. Like, none of that matters. They have trials, they have tribulations, they have family problems. They wake up in the morning, they drink water. Apparently they eat food and they go to bed at night. The only difference and the reason why they're outselling you 3 to 5 to 1 is because they've simply acquired a much more advanced sales ability than you currently have. That is available for you if you want that. But you don't have to have that. You're still going to work the same amount of hours every week.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to decide if you want to make more money than you are now in those same amount of hours you're already working. All right. I digress, Peter. You guys messaged me directly. You guys are awesome. Nate said, Peter, you're speaking to me, dude. The economy has exposed many of us who are hustling our way and not really building a skill set. Thanks for sharing, man. Nate, hey, get into the training if you want to double your income. This dude's did it in 6 months. Show you thousands of others that are doing it every single day, Nate. So, all right, you guys, love you guys. Message me directly right now. We'll get back to you. Put on the miner's helmet and dig deeper, baby. Reform Belfort, Cardone, Junkie, 100 degrees pivot from Kodiak Grizz. I love you, Kodiak. You're funny. I'm sure those guys are great. I've read some of their books and stuff. Really good motivational guys. I like those guys. I sell water coolers B2B. Do you handle that industry? Yes. I have a huge keynote for a massive company in that same space here in about 2 weeks, actually. All right, I got to get out of here. I got a podcast. Peter, thanks for being on here. I'll see everybody soon.